warrior kneels on white cloth and draws a blade against himself. How did hired fighters come to rule Japan for nearly 700 years? A warrior kneels on white cloth, draws a short blade, and turns it upon himself. For the samurai, this was not defeat, it was honor. For nearly 2 years, Japan was ruled not by kings, but by men of the sword, warriors bound by loyalty, discipline, and a readiness to die. We call them samurai. Their code we now call Bushido, the way of the warrior. But the truth is stranger than the legend. Much of what we imagine about samurai honor was shaped centuries later, some of it written down after the samurai themselves had vanished. This is the real story of how hired fighters became Japan's rulers, and how their entire world finally died. The word samurai comes from an old verb meaning to serve. At first, these were not lords. They were armed servants of the powerful. During the Heian Age, the imperial court in Kyoto grew refined and distant, leaving the wild provinces to armed landholders. These provincial warriors defended estates, collected taxes, and battled local rivals, slowly hardening into a hereditary military class. Two great warrior clans rose above the rest, the Taira and the Minamoto, both descended, it is said, from imperial blood. By the Chunbing Yuships, the Taira, led by Taira no Kiyomori, seized power in the capital, the first warriors ever to dominate Japan. But their dominance bred resentment. In Chunbek Shib, the Minamoto rose in rebellion, igniting the Ginpei War. For 5 years, samurai armies clashed across Japan. Mounted archers, curved swords, and fortresses set ablaze. The war's great hero was Minamoto no Yoshitsune, a brilliant young commander whose daring surprise attacks shattered the Taira. At the sea battle of Dan-no-ura in Chunbek Shibo, the Taira fleet was destroyed. The child emperor Antoku drowned as the ships went down. Victory belonged to Minamoto no Yoritomo, Yoshitsune's elder brother, and here the story turns dark. Yoritomo is said to have feared his brother's fame. He turned on Yoshitsune, hunting him until, cornered in Chunbek Paishiku, the young hero took his own life. In Chunbek Ushibi, Yoritomo took the title Shogun, Supreme Military Commander. From his base at Kamakura, warriors now ruled in the emperor's name. The emperor remained, honored but powerless. For the next Yukbek Paishib years, real power lay with the shogun and his samurai. Then came a threat from beyond the sea. Kublai Khan, master of the vast Mongol Empire, demanded that Japan submit to him. The shogunate refused. In Chanibek Chishipsa, a Mongol fleet of hundreds of ships landed on Japan's shore at Hakata Bay. Samurai, used to single duels and formal challenges, met massed Mongol infantry, poisoned arrows, and exploding bombs. The samurai fought hard along the beaches. Then, according to records, a sudden violent storm scattered the invaders' ships and forced them to withdraw. Kublai returned in Chunibek Paishibir with a far larger force, said to be one of the greatest seaborne invasions in all of history. For weeks, the samurai held the coast behind a stone wall. Then a massive typhoon struck, and the fleet was smashed. The storm they called Kamikaze, the divine wind. Japan believed the gods themselves had saved it. But the costly defense drained the shogunate, and its authority slowly crumbled. Over the next century, central power collapsed. By the Tonsabes, Japan splintered into dozens of warring domains. This was the Sengoku era, the age of warring states. Rival warlords, called daimyo, fought endlessly for survival and supremacy. It was the samurai's bloodiest age, and ironically, the one that forged their legend. And war itself transformed. Massed foot soldiers, long spears, and after Chunobek Sashipsam, European firearms reshaped every battlefield. From this chaos rose 3 unifiers. First came Oda Nobunaga, a ruthless innovator who embraced guns and crushed his rivals. Nobunaga nearly unified Japan, until Chunobek Paishibi, when a trusted general betrayed him, and he perished at the burning Honnoji Temple. His successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a peasant who rose to command armies, completed the unification by Chunobek Kushib. Hideyoshi disarmed the peasants and fixed the samurai as a separate hereditary class, sharpening the line between warrior and commoner. When Hideyoshi died, his rivals collided. On October Ishibir, Chunyukbek, 2 enormous armies met in the mist at Sekigahara. Tens of thousands of samurai fought in mud and fog. Then a mid-battle betrayal collapsed one side, handing victory to Tokugawa Ieyasu. In 1603, Ieyasu became shogun. His family would rule a unified Japan in peace for more than 250 years. And peace changed everything. With no wars left to fight, the samurai, only a small fraction of the population, became administrators. They traded the battlefield for the ledger, serving as bureaucrats, tax officials, and keepers of order in a quiet realm. Yet they still wore their two swords, the long katana and short wakizashi, the daisho, badge of their rank and identity. In this quiet age, warriors began writing down what it meant to be a samurai. The code was becoming words. Around Chuncherbek-shimyug, a retired samurai-turned-monk, Yamamoto Tsunetomo, dictated the Hagakure, reflections on the warrior's spirit. Its most famous line reads, "The way of the samurai is found in death." Honor, it taught, meant readiness to die at any moment. But here's what many forget. The Hagakure was written in an era of total peace, and its author had never fought a real battle. Much of the romantic Bushido we imagine was shaped in peacetime and polished again around Chungkupek for foreign readers abroad. Real samurai loyalty varied by clan and century. In the wars, allegiance was often traded for land, and betrayal was common. Consider Miyamoto Musashi, the age's most famous swordsman, who is said to have survived some 60 duels. In Chunryupek Shibi, it is said he faced the master Sasaki Kojiro on a remote island, arriving late, armed only with a wooden sword. Musashi struck him down and departed. Late in life, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, a treatise on strategy still studied today. No story captures the samurai ideal like the tale of the 47 Ronin, a true event that hardened into legend. In Chunchibegir, a young lord named Asano Naganori drew his blade inside Edo Castle and wounded a court official, Kira Yoshinaka. Drawing a weapon inside the shogun's castle was a grave crime. Asano was ordered to commit seppuku that very same day. His lands were seized and his samurai cast out, now masterless ronin, their honor stained by their lord's disgrace. Their leader, Oishi Kuranosuke, waited. For nearly 2 years, it is said, he feigned a life of drink and ruin to deceive Kira's watchful spies. Then, on a snowy night in early Chuncherbek-sam, 47 ronin stormed Kira's mansion and cut him down. They carried his severed head to their lord's grave, their vengeance complete, their vow at last fulfilled. The shogunate faced a dilemma. The ronin had broken the law, yet embodied its highest ideal of loyalty. The verdict: they were allowed to die honorably by seppuku, not executed as criminals, and were buried beside their lord. For over 2 centuries, the samurai ruled a Japan sealed off from the world. Then, in Chunparpe-Goship-sam, foreign warships arrived. American ships forced Japan to open its ports. The shogunate, unable to resist, lost the trust of its own warriors. In Chunparpe-Yushipai, samurai themselves overthrew the shogun and restored the emperor to power, the Meiji Restoration. Then came the twist no samurai expected. The new government began abolishing the samurai class itself. Their stipends were cut, and in Chunparpe-Shishimyug they were forbidden to wear their swords in public. Centuries of privilege ended within a single decade. Some refused to fade. In Chunparpe-Shishipchir, Saigo Takamori, once a leader of the Restoration, led thousands of samurai in the Satsuma Rebellion. At Shirayama, his handful of survivors made a last stand against a modern army. Saigo fell, remembered as the last samurai, and their age died with him. The swords were laid down, but the legend never died. Next time, the ninja. Were the shadow assassins of Japan real or myth? Subscribe to World History Tales, and don't miss it.